Okay, I'm going to demonstrate how to mount a sheet of OX long pips with a glue sheet. So there's my glue sheet. I like using the Donic glue sheets. They use two different adhesive strengths. The stronger adhesive on the rubber side for a permanent bond to the rubber, and then a weaker adhesive on the blade side, which allows the rubber sheet and the glue sheet to be removed from one blade and applied to another 10 or more times without any problem. These are a bit hard to find. I get them at AmericanTableTennis.com. No affiliation. So some of the tools I use, I've got a straight edge razor. I always use a brand new razor for OXLP to get the cleanest cut without a jagged edge. This is a $1 kind of plastic scraper tool that I got from Tap Plastics. And I have a roller. This is a 4-inch clear plexiglass tube, but pretty much anything will do. You can use a spray paint can. I like this because you can see through it, see what you're working on underneath, but definitely not required. And the LP I will be mounting today is Zeus. Just got this in from China, should be interesting. I've also got a steel straight edge ruler, which I will demonstrate in a minute. Let's get into this. All right, this looks like a pretty basic sheet. To keep everything dust free, you don't want to get dirt and dust and debris in between the rubber backing and the glue sheet. So you'll see in a minute why I have this straight edge. A lot of these LPs have a very large label, and if there's enough height on the sheet, I like to cut some of the bottom off just so there's more pips and less label in case I mishit a ball down low. I just want to make sure that before you cut a 1/4 inch off the bottom that you have enough on the top to compensate. I think I've only come across one sheet that was short, so this one's got at least 3/4 of an inch, so we're going to do a pretty decent cut here. So I'll just pop this guy down, blade out here. And try not to cut off the ITTF serial number in case anyone ever wants to see that. So I just press down hard on here. This usually comes off with one pass. There we go. Alright, we're done with a straight edge. Slightly shorter sheet of LP. Alright, set that aside, pip side down, keep it clean, get our blade back here. Okay, you want the blade to be dust free. Don't want debris sticking to the weaker side of the glue sheet either. So this glue sheet has two sides. There's a plain white side, that's the side you remove first. And that's all explained on the directions here. Let's get this back off. So as I pull off the corner, I always want to feel, make sure I'm leaving the glue sheet itself onto the side with the writing. It almost always works, but on 1 or 2 occasions I pulled it off and I actually was pulling the written side off. And once you do that, it's very difficult to get back on. But this is working fine. Now I want to retain this slip sheet here, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm just going to put this on the blade. I like leaving like a 1/16 of an inch right above the handle. And the reason I do that is I don't want any of the adhesive on the very bottom of the glue sheet coming out from under the bottom of the rubber. It just gets a little distracting. It sticks to your finger when you're playing. So now I'm just smoothing this guy on with the scraper, making sure there's no bubbles. Use the back of it here. I like to burnish the corners down here because this is where I start cutting it, and you don't want it to separate from the blade while it's being cut. Okay, that's well attached. Flip it over. Take your blade again, and now we're just going to cut the perimeter. This will come off in one pass. Keep the blade straight up and down and press tightly against the edge of the blade. This does not damage the blade. And I can now remove the part we don't need. Alright, so now we're back here. And I'm just going to reburnish the edge a little bit. Okay. Next, we're going to pull off the second slip sheet, leaving the glue sheet on the blade. Make sure you don't pull the glue sheet off with the slip sheet, because you're just working against that weaker side of the adhesive. It's not really meant to stay on the blade permanently. That's got it. Lift it up a touch down here. I'm just going to press that down a little bit. Okay, so now we have the sticky side of the glue sheet facing up. We need to be careful now. So here's some of my my technique. Here's the slip sheet from the first side. It's two-sided. You want to get the shiny side that was originally attached to the weaker side of the glue sheet. We're going to put that down, leaving about a ½ inch at the very base. We're not going to press it. We're just going to lay it easily. In fact, I don't want it to be adhered to the glue sheet any more than necessary. Next thing, I'm going to take this part I just cut, and I'm going to just put it on top here. This is going to give me something to slip with. Now we get our rubber. Make sure I got the bottom where it needs to be. The object here is to align the label area with that exposed ½ inch of glue sheet. You got to be careful. Sometimes you only get one shot at this. I'm trying to get it stretched so it's straight, but not stretched so it's actually longer than it would naturally sit. I want it to just drop down at the bottom. No wrinkles. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, so what I've done is I've attached just the bottom ½ inch of the glue sheet to the rubber. And now comes our roller. I'll take the roller and I'll put it here. And I'm going to pull this guy back on the roller. Don't want to stretch anything, but you do want it to be completely smooth. Now we're going to start removing these slip sheets. This one should come out. If not, I roll this back a touch. Alright, now we're loaded for bear. So we want to make sure that we roll this out straight and even. And we should get a completely smooth, bubble-free glue sheet. And that's what happened. So I'm just going to do a little bit of preliminary sticking here. Get the label area that doesn't contact the roller. Alright, the next phase is to go back. We're going to flip this back over. And I like to use the other end of the blade now, the one that I haven't used, which I think is here. Some of these sheets are pretty hard to cut through without getting jagged. So to get that first cut, I like to lean the blade back a little bit so it's not flat on the tip, it's up. And then that will pinch this corner against my cutting board so I can cut through the label area of the rubber without having it pull away and leave a jagged edge. So now I've done that. I'm trying to do this in one pass. This isn't like a sponge rubber where it pays to make multiple passes. This is one pass. So I'm going to hold the loose end of the sheet with my finger so it doesn't bunch up. And here we go. Blade is still straight up and down, keeping it tightly against the edge of the blade. It's working quite well. Don't need to go fast here. almost done. And when we get to the label, we're going to again tip the blade back so it traps the label area onto the cutting board. And that does it. So let's see what we got here. Looks pretty perfect. Nice clean edge. The last thing I do is there's invariably some bubbles in the label area, and they're best attacked from the back. So I'm going to pull this guy off. This is now reusable, reattachable to this blade or any other clean blade. The bubbles in question are, you can see them clearly on the back through the clear carrier sheet of the glue sheet. And I've got a little pin, which I should have had on the table, but I'll go fetch it. Yeah, okay, and now you just need to put one or two little holes in these bubble areas. Don't poke all the way through the rubber. No need for that. A couple here as well. What's going to happen is the next time this gets attached to something, those will press out. They'll allow the trapped air that's making the bubble to escape. So now I can just take the slip sheet from the first side and put it on here. And this can either be for storage indefinitely, or if I just want to use it to press out the air. But that's it. So this OXLP on the Donic glue sheet can now go back onto this blade or any other blade. I've used these for probably 10, maybe even 15, 20 changes. They never seem to run out of stick, provided you keep the blade clean. You don't want to use it on a blade that's got a bunch of old glue on it. This particular blade has never had glue on it, so it's perfectly clean. Then I just, clean it before I put the pit back on. I'll just show you that one more time. So if I want to mount this again, now it's ready. Let's take it off. It does take a bit of a lining, but even if you get it wrong, you can just lift it up and try again. And I just come in from the side so there's no bubbles trapped under. If I'm at the court and I don't have my roller, I take a glue, one of these slip sheets, and I just do something like this, and that's ready to play.